Nigeria now has 45 new ministers. That's after President Bola Tinubu's nominees were screened and confirmed by the Senate. They'll form the president's proposed 48-member cabinet, the largest in the country's history. However, 3 nominees are yet to be confirmed due to petitions written against them. There was also drama on the final day of screening, with some senators split over Festus Keyamo's nomination. The Senate withheld the confirmation of Malam Nasir El-Rufai, Stella Oketete, and Senator Abubakar Danladi over security screening. In Delta State, a faction of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, is raising alarm over the marginalization in the selection of nominees for ministerial appointment. There are growls cuts across the dominance of Delta Central, both locally and at the national level. They insist that equity in politics is highly needed for the survival of Nigeria. Joining us now on this show to air their grievances about the ministerial nominees from Delta State screened by the Senate is Chief Leroy Edozien, a leader of the All Progressives Congress in Delta State and a member of the cabinet of the Asagba of Asaba. He's been joined by Amorigoye Sonny Mene, former organizing secretary, APC Delta State, Secretary Ishekiri Leaders of Fourth, and member Ijo Isoko and Ishekiri Elders and Leaders Forum. Quite a mouthful there. But let me welcome you to the program, Mr. Mene.
Thanks for
and
having
also
me.
welcome Chief Leroy Edozien to the program. Well, I don't know who is going to go first between the two of you, but this is a bit confounding. The Constitution of Nigeria gives the President of Nigeria the prerogative to choose his team as he deems fit, to hire and fire them as he deems fit, right? Some states got only one minister, the 5 states of the Southeast. But Delta is one of those lucky states that got 2. And yet, this matter has been reduced to it's only Delta Central that has been chosen. Isoko has been ignored. Ishekiri has been ignored. If every state, if every APC branch in every state of the Federation begins to look at, oh, it's this senatorial district that chooses and not our own senatorial district, that would be a serious problem. Because the allegation that Delta Central is dominating, it looks like some kind of big accusation. So what exactly is the purpose of this objection? That the president should again go back and appoint more people from Delta State? Or that the 2 persons that have been appointed are not fit and proper persons from the perspective of APC Delta State? Let me start with you, Mr. Mene.
Well, thank you. Well, like you said, it is the prerogative of the president to appoint whoever he deems fit to serve in his cabinet. However, the Constitution also provides for federal character for the purposes of inclusiveness in governance. And that's at the federal level. Now, when you want to trickle down this federal character principle to the state, we should also be talking about state character, if you like, also in governance. This is what we are talking about. That there must be inclusiveness. You must find a way. I can see that the president is strenuously spreading appointments to cover all spheres, in the nation, ensure that they are included in his government. So also when you are looking at the state that you are picking, the president is a politician. We know he's a reformist. We are saying that there must be a sense of equity, fairness, and justice. That it is not right for the party chairman to come from one local government, the gubernatorial candidate of the party to come from the same local government, and the ministerial nominee should also come from the same local government in a state that has 25 local governments. That is not right. The minister that was there before is from Delta Central. And now even the 2 nominated from Delta now are from Delta Central in a state like Delta that is highly ethnically combustible. That is not right in building the party. That's what we are saying. That as you are putting the cabinet together, you want to have everybody on board. We all work for the party, everybody. And people like us have borne the dream, the vision of Asiwaju for a very long time. It's also people from Delta State, Delta South, and Delta North. So in constituting this, particularly when the last 8 years, for somebody from Delta Central that was there, we have the opinion that this time around, you bring somebody from another central district to also be. Please note, we don't have anything against the nominees. Their capability, their person, no. There are people we are very familiar with, we know them very well. They have, what it takes to serve. But we think that for inclusiveness, there's need to have a sense of equity, justice, and fairness in the selection process. That's our point.
Chief Edozien, do you share the same view with Mr. Mene here with us in the studio? And what will you recommend as the way forward? Because already the Senate has confirmed these persons representing Delta State. So what's the purpose of this objection? And has any petition been written to that effect to bring it to the notice of the president?
Yes, thank you very much. Let me start by saying that I am pleased to make my maiden appearance on Arise Television. And I hope you can hear me.
Yes, clearly, Chief. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, thank you for the compliment.
So I'm pleased to make my maiden appearance on your television station. Thanks for having me. Yes, I do agree with what has been said. I would like to emphasize that it is not about the character and competence of the nominees. Rather, it's about equity, it's about inclusivity, it's about removing any iota of marginalization, and it's about playing progressive politics. This is very important because Delta State is a microcosm of Nigeria. We have a variety of ethnic groups here. That diversity should be turned into a strength rather than allow factors to come in that will create cleavages based on that diversity. You see, it's not just about senatorial districts. In Delta, we have Urobos, we have Ishakiris, we have Isokos, we have Ijos, in addition to those of us here in Delta North. It's important for everyone to be carried along. It's important for us to have that sense of belonging. The South have spoken out. We in the North want to speak out as well, to say, no, this is not fair. It's been pointed out already that our incoming governor, because we're expecting victory at the tribunal, our party chairman, and the two nominees are from the same ethnic stock, the same senatorial district, and in fact, three of the four are from the same local government. I mean, that just can't be right. You see, you did ask a question whether a petition or something like that has been written. No, we have not written a petition, but I have written a friendly letter to the President, His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, drawing his attention to this marginalization and asking him to use his good offices and his great wisdom to take this forward. Let me say this. The President's inaugural speech generated a lot of fervor. People began to buy into the renewed hope agenda. Even people who had doubts before began to come on board. We need to keep that alive. If you begin to have policy reversals, if you begin to give people the idea that we are going to be doing things the same old way, there will be erosion, gradual erosion of that hope. And that would mean that the renewed hope becomes a non-starter. We don't want that. We don't want that. We want people to see that this government is going to do things differently, that this government is delivering what the people have been looking forward to for years. It's a golden opportunity for the APC. And I've always said, the way you run your party should reflect the way you want to run your government. The two should mirror each other in terms of the ideology, the modus operandi, and everything that reflects, good governance across the party. So that's where we are. And in terms of going forward, well, because I am in an interested party in this case, I would leave it to our president. It is not for me to dictate to him. But our president has shown that he is one that listens to the views of the people. We have had instances already where the president has had to adjust his thinking, his announcements, his procedures, whatever, in line with feedback received from the public in response to those statements, comments, policies, etc. So I have the confidence that he's going to take note of this complaint of marginalization. And let me point out on this marginalization issue. As far as we in Delta North are concerned, it's not just about ministerial appointments. I drew the attention of Mr. President in my letter to him that during the presidential campaign, our president did not visit Delta North. He went to Delta South, Delta Central, but not to Delta North, which is kind of unusual because we host the state capital. So you have a situation where the party is focusing more on Delta Central, and then that makes it even more difficult for us in Delta North to campaign for the APC. If you treat a people as if they are second fiddle, it's difficult to convince them to vote for you, to stand behind you. So that means it's a very tall order for we, the APC leaders in Delta North. And that should be taken into account when people discuss the outcome of the elections. That is all I have to say for now.
All right. Thank you very much, Chief Edozien. I'll start with Mr. Mene now. I have a question for Chief Edozien as a follow-up as well. Mr. Mene, I'd like to take it further in terms of going forward, your expectations. Now, even though Chief Edozien said he wouldn't want to preempt the president's move, I want to ask you, what would a good or fair balance for Delta State look like from the presidency? Because, as has been mentioned, beyond ministerial appointments, there are other appointments still not yet made. And then, as Dr. Bati had mentioned, you have two nominees from Delta State. Shouldn't Delta State be looking as a whole, collectively looking to support these nominees who have come from your state, as opposed to dividing to, and that's a way to bring, once division is in the play, then it makes your spot weaker, as opposed to just supporting them. So that's what I'd like you to speak about with regards to what moving forward would look like. Then for Chief Edozien, I'd like to ask, for Delta State, Delta North in particular, what the argument of the president would be, well, Delta State hasn't delivered for APC. So, yes, you're coming with demands to not marginalize Delta State, which other states can say the same in terms of ensuring that all the senatorial districts are represented, which is nigh on impossible. What is the advantage for the president? Delta State has been a PDP stronghold for a while. You didn't deliver in the last election. He had said it that those who wouldn't, you would get but a piece of bread, just quoting him very loosely. What's the argument? What's the big advantage for the president in this regard, in terms of visitations to Delta North, coming into Delta State and spreading it? I'll come to you, Mr. Mene, first.
Okay, thank you. Now, the reason why we are pushing this position is not because, like I said earlier on, we are opposed to any of the candidates, any of the nominees that are represented by the president. And we also agree that it is the prerogative of the president to nominate whom he thinks should serve in his cabinet. But for us, in Delta State, we'll take it a little further than that. But because of the nature of our state, like Professor Edozien said, Delta State is a microcosm of Nigeria, and it's a highly combustive state in terms of ethnicity and all that. So, and because we know that Asiwaju has a link with Delta State by virtue of his wife, who is our daughter, you know, a highly respected one at that, and all that. We have the opinion that it should not treat Delta State just like, it should have special interest in Delta State.
What does the special interest look like?
This special interest is that, look, because we feel that over the years, as a people, we have been marginalized. Even though we produce Delta South now, over 80% of the resources that drives the state and the federation, our people have nothing to show for it. So you're picking people to represent, and you know that over 50% of the country's resources is at the national level. So in picking people, you know, you should also look at the people who have also been marginalized, who have borne the, you know, the pain of this federation over time to ensure that they are not further shortchanged. And the truth is that Asiwaju is somebody who's particularly very close to Delta State. When he came to campaign, the wife spoke our dialect, and our people were ecstatic that yes, the incoming government is our government. And we really hope that truly the saving grace is on the way, that the narrative for us will change, you know, with the incoming government. And so our people were full of expectation, you know. So, and we also are aware that, you know, in the last 8 years, well, we didn't grumble, we didn't complain, because yes, we are not opposed to the robos, you know, taking it from Delta Central and all that. But going further down, you must have a sense of, like Professor Lawrence said, a sense of inclusiveness, a sense of balance, you know, in ensuring that we are all together. The robos, the Jaws, Isukos, Shekiris, and the people from Delta, we are all one, really, and all that. But there must be inclusiveness. There must be equity, justice, and fairness in appointment. It's being done at the federal level. We'll see how, at the federal level, strenuously, the party, the president is working for this balance. Also, too, should look at this kind of balance at the state level so that people don't feel shortchanged. You know, like I said, you know, how do you see a situation where the chairman of the party is from one local government, the gubernatorial candidate of the party is from the same local government, hoping that he's going to win, you know, at the election petition tribunal to become the governor of Delta State. Then the nominee too is also from that same local government. Then the second nominee is from the same Robo ethnic nationality. We just feel that, what is going on here? Don't we matter? You know, we feel that the president, you know, is a politician, is a very seasoned administrator. There's need for him to take a second look at that, to pay special interest, you know, on Delta State.
All right.
You know, that's what was said. And with regards to the question you asked
Chief
Edozien, with regards to, I want to comment on that. You just...
Yes, advantage in terms of Delta State being a PDP state. Were you able to deliver for APC in the state? What's the special advantage there?
Yes, we all work for APC in Delta State, particularly in Delta South, where I'm from. For example, in my community, I delivered, out of 4 units, I delivered 3 units. And also to our people, you know, played a key role, even at the primaries.
Okay.
When people did not have faith in Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the primaries, we came all out.
All right.
To ensure that, you know, he took the ticket of the party, you know, to run for the presidential election. So we have leaders in our area that have worked and believe in this vision of Asiwaju. I don't want to name names, but all over the media, we know them. And so for them to feel that, at this time now, is it that their opinion don't matter again? And we're just calling for equity, justice, and fairness going forward.
Thank you very much, sir. Chief Edozien, the advantage for Delta State, being a PDP state, your take on this?
Yes, there were actually 2 issues in the questions that you raised for me. One is the idea that if you don't deliver results to a presidential candidate, you don't expect anything in return. The other is, what's the big deal in it for His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Asiwaju? Regarding the first one, I'll say this. Ministerial appointments and governance generally is not about rewarding people for performance or non-performance in elections. It's a factor that comes in, but that's not everything. We have a federal character enshrined in our Constitution. We have principles of equity that cut across the board at all times. And that's what good governance is all about. Secondly, you want to look at the various factors, the context, and I've tried to give you part of that context. If we had the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, of the NNPP, of the PDP, of the SDP, all come to our senatorial districts, campaign here, pay a courtesy visit on our traditional ruler, but we didn't have that of the APC. And the people say, we'll vote for the people who care about us. You don't turn around and say, no, you don't deserve anything because you did not deliver results. Okay, so that's number one. We did work hard, and I made that clear in my letter to the president. A situation where you are conducting an election without your senatorial candidate who has been incarcerated unjustly, illegally. Who wins an election in such a situation? It's not easy. If it happens, count that as a semi-miracle. Those were some of the conditions we faced here. That there was what is clearly perceived by the people as second fiddle in a political party. What is perceived by the people as a persecution of their senatorial candidates. And of course, you had, the whirlwind of the obedient movement. So we face formidable forces here in Delta North, and that should be taken into account. We should be congratulated for the great effort we put in that election. It should be acknowledged. It should be recognized. We should be respected for that, not vilified. And then I go on to the second point. What's the big deal in it for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Bola Ahmed Tinubu, everybody acknowledges, is an astute politician. He's a consummate politician. He's vastly experienced. He's a strategist. He knows that what you have in your pocket, you hold firmly onto. The ones that did not come to you, you now go out and get them. If Delta North did not deliver for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last election, I am sure the president will want this senatorial district to be delivered for him in 2027. And that journey starts now. We've got to start now to remove any perceptions of marginalization in Delta North. We must begin to show the people of Delta North senatorial districts, and indeed all senatorial districts in Delta State, that they all count, that they are all inclusive, that there's no second fiddle, there's no marginalization. So this is very important for the president, for the governance in the present dispensation, and for the electoral success in 2027, that he addresses this perception. I keep emphasizing, it's not just about who gets appointed as a minister. It's about how the party is perceived in this senatorial district, and that is very, very important to the president and to all of us in APC and Nigeria generally.
Okay, so you've said a lot. We now understand what is going on everywhere from one senatorial district and all of that. You've written a letter appeal. I think the crux of the matter should be, what next? Obviously, the president can't reverse his decision because Mr. Keyamo has been confirmed already, pending Mrs. Okochete's confirmation. Ms. Okochete's confirmation. And she'll be confirmed. And once she's confirmed she passed the security test, it's all gone. So what would you do as regards this? Would you keep pleading and talking to them and all of that? Or find your political net somewhere else? What would you do? Because all of this now is already a fait accompli. People will say the boss has moved on from the terminus.
Well, thank you, Rufai. In our opinion, like I said earlier on, we don't have issues with those two nominees. I will keep saying so because those are people we know, they are members of our party and all that. And it is, like I said, the prerogative of the president to nominate. And he has nominated. But all we are saying is that our party is a progressive party. It's a party that believes in justice, equity, and fairness. A party who should honorably recognize the diversity of Delta State and in decision-making should bring those knowledge into play in taking decisions. Now, it is true that these nominees, they don't know why Stella's case has been stepped down. We don't have all the facts and all that. We don't wish anything bad for any of them, But going forward, and we have written to this effect that, look, when the leadership of the party is looking at Delta State, the way the state is today, if the caucus of the state ceases to want to take decision with regards to the party, you have persons from only one nationality sitting. If you call a caucus of about 5 to take decision on Delta State, of course you call the state chairman, will be there. The governorship candidate of the party will be there. Then the ministerial, the minister, will be there. They are all from one senatorial, and all that. And from the same senatorial. It's not representative of a state like Delta State. And of course, when they sit down and they want to put any suggestion forward to the federal, they'll put their interests first. That's what we're saying. Because the leadership is not inclusive. It's tilted. It's skewed against, the minorities. That's the point we're making. And taking a nest somewhere else, that does not, it will not come up at all. Because people like us have been with Asiwaju from the days of AD. From the days of AD to AC to ACN, actually I ran for the Warri Federal Constituency in 2011 election, down from ACN to APC. So the people in Delta South, particularly, have always believed in progressive politics, which Asiwaju represents, and all that. Policies of change. Nigerians are very cynical about governance in Nigeria because of failures in the past. We believe that the coming of Asiwaju will change the narrative. And so we believe strongly that we will be partners in changing this narrative. So we are not going to, we'll keep speaking. If we feel that what is going on is not right, we can only conscientize and sensitize the leaders to say, look at Delta State with special interest. Because, it is not true that people say we didn't deliver. We have a senator from Delta South, Onowakbo. He's from Delta South, So to say that Delta State did not deliver for sure, it's not true. We had challenges in that election. The running mate to Atiku was from Delta State, Okowa, with huge resources for the election. We deployed personal resources. Conducting an election in our area is very expensive. But we went all out, even deploying our own resources to ensure that we deliver, to our president in the election. So to say that we did not deliver because you're looking at the numbers that came in and all that, given the circumstances in which that elections held, and like Professor Lawyer said, they will be phenomenal, it was not easy for anybody. There are prominent party leaders who did not also win in their own states. I mean, people have said that, even Asiwaju, in Lagos, there will be phenomenon, practically swept Lagos. But that notwithstanding, you see, we are putting government in place that will take care of the interests of everybody.
No, so you've not answered my question, sir.
Yes.
So sorry, with due respect.
Yes.
And I'm also going to ask this question from Chief Leroy Edozien.
Yes.
What next now? You've written this letter. Is it just to inform the president and say, you've forgotten also? Is that just it? What is going to be the outcome? What is going to be the next line of action?
Well, the outcome of our agitation, our sensitization, is that the leadership of the party, including the leader of the party, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will listen to us and correct whatever.
What if he doesn't correct it now?
He will.
Because this is gone already with the ministerial list.
Well, we know. We are not having issues with that.
So
but
you're saying
it's
for
not
board?
it's not the end yet. The government is just, it's a very new government. It's just about how many months old? 2 months plus, and all that. So it's just starting. But it's good to start. The reason why we're speaking that, it's good to start right. Because expectation is very high. Like I said, Bola Ahmed Tinubu's presidency, we know is the president that will change this country for good. And the renewed hope, which is the slogan of his campaign, is what we have all bought into. And so going forward, to answer your question more directly, we hope that this situation will change going forward. That there should be more inclusiveness, more balance in dealing with the issue of Delta State. Okay,
let me go back to Chief Leroy. Chief Leroy, you've written this letter, so, I mean, what next now? Because since we've been able to understand the fact that this is far gone already, what next? What are you saying? Are you saying if they're going to maybe drop some minister, consider some minister next? If I'm not sure that's going to happen in the first 4 years. I might be wrong, I might be right on that. Or boards. What else do you want now? So are you saying they should consider somebody from Delta North and South? Is that what you're saying? What next, really? Let's know in clear terms. And can you, if you have demands, can you make those demands live on TV?
Yes, Rufai, let me start by saying that, in your view, the bus has left the terminus. Well, in my view, that bus is not just a bus conveying ministerial nominees. It's a bus conveying progressives. It's a bus conveying all those who are involved in the governance of this country. That bus has not entirely left the station. And I say, this is not just about ministerial appointments. It's the wider issue of marginalization. So, going forward, number one, I would like Mr. President to acknowledge to the people of Delta North and Delta South senatorial districts that a mistake has been made. You say to your constituents, to your party leaders and faithful, oh, I'm so sorry this did not come to my attention. Now that it has come to my attention, please, may I ask you to bear with us and we see what we can do. We acknowledge your pain. We acknowledge your feelings. The president himself did say that he will carry everybody along in a way that would advance humanity. I can't remember his exact words, but he said words to that effect. So, and I say, we need a lot of humanity, humaneness, whatever you want to call it, in Nigerian politics. In my congratulatory message to the president and his election, I did emphasize this point. Please, may your government be one that manifests empathy. So the first thing we ask for in this context is empathy, that the president should acknowledge the feelings that have been expressed by the people of Delta North and Delta South regarding this marginalization. Then, it is not only ministerial appointments that are going to be made. There are major appointments that will be made by the government. Again, there are these ways of compensating the people. If people feel that they are marginalized, it's not by who you appoint to positions only. That is one factor. How about the projects you take to them? How about infrastructural development? How about employment for the people, empowerment for our youth and our women? So there are other ways you can say, okay, we recognize your pain. This is how we intend to compensate you. So it's not just about, appoint Lagbaja or Medu or Obinna as a minister. No, it's more than that. And I think I want to emphasize that point. The bus, if it's conveying just the ministerial nominees, as Rufai conceives it, you may say it has left the station. But again, that bus can stop at the next bus stop and pick up another passenger. What is wrong if the president decides, okay, because of what has happened, I'll make an exception in this case and I'll appoint another minister from Delta South or Delta North? What's wrong with that? Nothing. Nothing.
Okay, Chief Edozien.
So that's why I say I don't want to preempt Mr. President. I leave it to him as, a sagacious leader. He knows the right thing to do. Let's leave it to him to make that decision rather than try to dictate to him how we should address this situation. We have brought it to his attention and we have confidence in his ability to deal with it.
Yeah, I've listened to both of you very well. We seem to be running out of time. But the lingering question with this. We've been on this federal character issue since 1939 under the Bodilon government. In 1954, it was also an issue. In 1979, it was written into the Nigerian Constitution for the first time. The question Nigerians should ask themselves, when are we going to say, look, we have done enough with this federal character and quota system, and then just focus on merit, competence, as is the case in other parts of the world? Because if we keep talking about my local government, my senatorial district, we will never get to the end of it. And this thing affects everything else in this country. But that question hangs in the air. But I just thought I should bring that up as a parting thought. Thank you very much.
I think I should respond briefly to that.
Just
We have the time,
minute.
okay?
We're out of time. Maybe in a minute, 30 seconds, just a liner.
Yes, it's in the process of building a nation. It is very, very important. If you recall, what led to the collapse of the First Republic? Lack of balancing. The 5 majors are still being accused today of being of one ethnic nationality that led to the collapse of the First Republic in 1966. And people are still saying that, look, if they had balance, if you agree Ronsi, who took over after the 5 majors had balanced
I said that in 100 years' time, our great-grandchildren will still be talking about federal character. When will Nigeria evolve?
Yes.
Thank you so much,
very
Mr.
much.
A.S. Mene, and of course, Chief Leroy Edozien, for your time this morning. Very insightful conversation.